Whenever overlanders head east in North Carolina, they're always headed towards the beach, towards the Outer Banks. But they're driving right past a number of great overlanding destinations that are on the way out to those beach locations. The North Carolina beaches are great places to visit, don't get me wrong, but not to get away from the crowds. If you're looking to plan a trip where you can get away from it all and find some peace and quiet, then keep listening. Hello and welcome. My wife Susan and I, we're on a mission to explore the byways of this country to find the food, the people, and even the odd stuff. We're exploring where the roads lead after you leave the interstates behind, and beyond where the roads end. Whether you're thinking about getting started overlanding or rocking a fully built rig, I'll be talking about the places we go and giving tips to make your journeys go smoother. And it all starts now on this episode of The Dirt Road Tourist. Look, we all know about the Outer Banks. We know about Cape Lookout, Fort Fisher, Ocracoke, Carrabba. They're popular destinations for overlanders and tourists alike. That's great when you want to join in the party, but I think most of us also want trips where we can get away from civilization and unplug for a while. Susan and I took a trip this past weekend to a Pocosin Lakes National Wildlife Refuge, which I know isn't on the general overlanding radar. I know because there is practically zero YouTube content about it. I looked. Defiance Overland did a feature video about it recently, which is what put this place on my radar. So, Pocosin is not a heavy off-road type destination. It's mostly dirt or gravel roads, Forest Service type roads, think that. But it's a what it lacks in technicality, it more than makes up for in seeing wildlife. There's everything from black bears to red wolves. We didn't see anything but a couple of whitetail the whole time we were out there. It was kind of a chilly day and it was damp, and I suppose they were probably smarter than we were and kind of hunkered down because of the weather. Did see a couple of bald eagles and a couple of kingfishers feeding in the canals out there, and we saw a lot of tundra swans and snow geese. They're everywhere. This is the nesting grounds that they have for the migration season. So they come down to Pungo Lake and they come down to Pocosin for their overwintering. We wanted to get over to Pungo Lake, speaking of which, all the roads that we passed while we were out there on the reserve were all gated due to the migratory season. They tend to close off some of these roads to vehicular traffic during the migration season, which happens between September and February. So you can enter the National Wildlife Refuge from two sides. There's kind of a southwest entrance, and then there's one more to the northeast side. We had chosen the northeast side and kind of driving east or west through the wildlife refuge going towards Pungo, and Pungo's over on the west side of the reserve. So we had spent most of the day already driving around, and we were kind of taking our time moving through because I was always getting out of the truck to set up a camera to film. I was trying to get some footage in order to put out a video of our trip. And it was getting kind of late in the afternoon, so we could have gotten to Pungo Lake, but we would have had to go up and all the way around to get down to that southwest entrance and get to Pungo that way. It wasn't closed, but it would have taken a while to get there, and it was already getting late in the afternoon, and you have to be out of the National Wildlife Reserve by nightfall. There's no driving around through there after dark. So we did not get to Pungo Lake just because of that, because we had already kind of spent our time. But here was the cool thing about it is that we spent the whole day driving around. On Onyx, we clocked 32 miles worth of, I'm making air quotes around my head, trails. It's really kind of dirt and gravel roads. But it was a chance to get Bonnie off into some dirt, and it was a nice day driving around. We spent the whole day driving around down there and did not see a single soul the whole time. There were no vehicles to pass. There was nobody went by. Nobody was behind us. Whenever I was setting up some of the tripod shots to get some shots of the truck going by, we would just stop in the middle of the road. We got to the point where we were just stopping in the middle of the road because there was literally nobody coming up behind. We weren't in anybody's way. So to have the entire place to ourselves on a Saturday afternoon, I don't think that's ever happened, at least not here on the East Coast, any of the East Coast places. So this was just an absolute pleasure to be out there doing some overlanding through on a Saturday afternoon and to not run into anybody, to have the whole place to ourselves. That's incredible. That's a really great day out there on some dirt, on some gravel, just taking in the scenery and the wildlife out there. That was fantastic. So instead of going to Pungo because we were running out of daylight there, we decided to go ahead and head to camp, which is at Pettigrew State Park. Now, Pettigrew State Park, that their campsite is on the northeast shore of Phelps Lake. And it's a nice little campground that they have there. It's small, but it's really well kept. And we were only one of 3 campsites booked last weekend. Perhaps it was because it was Super Bowl weekend. That might have been kind of keeping some of the crowds down as well as the weather, but there were only 2 other people besides us. So when we were going through there, I did notice that we were in site 8, which is great for a rig. We noticed that site 6 and 8 are both really nice for a rig. Got some privacy. They're nice. It's easy to level in there. 5 looked really private, but it might be a challenge to get level. Just in case you're thinking about actually booking at the Pettigrew State Park campground, I'm kind of giving out some hints about some sites to look at. 9, 10, and 11, those are also really nice and level, but there's not much tree cover or privacy on those sites, but they would be really easy just to go ahead and pull in and be able to set up. They're nice and level, nice and open. So there's a small camp store at the ranger station at the entrance. They sell firewood, so you don't even have to bring firewood with you, or if you don't have any to bring with you, don't worry about it. You can actually pick up firewood while you're there. Also, don't forget to pick up your state park passport sticker while you're at the ranger station or at the entrance, the little camp store. The Pettigrew State Park campground also is surrounded by mangrove forests between the campground and the lake, which was really kind of cool. I'll get to that in a minute. There's a short trail going past campsite 7. It was kind of running between 6 and 7 there, that takes you out to Somerset Place. Somerset Place is an historic plantation built in the 1800s, is where it dates back to. And it's kind of neat to walk around. It's been preserved. It's an historical landmark. And you can kind of walk around in there and check out the buildings and the features of the plantation. And that was kind of cool. And then there's also a raised trail that takes you through the mangroves. And that was really neat. I know Fisher enjoyed it. And in the raised trails, they lead out to a swimming pier, which goes out over the lake. And this, of course, because there wasn't anybody out there, it was really serene and it was really quiet and it was really peaceful to stand out on this pier out over the lake and just kind of take in the view. And I guess it was kind of serene and quiet because, well, the geese were elsewhere. But again, this time of year, make note, those geese were everywhere and they're kind of noisy. I'll get to that in a minute too. The evening was kind of cold, but the fire kind of helped keep that nice and cheerful. But again, the temperatures were in the mid to upper 40s, but it felt colder than the temperature actually was just because of how damp the air was. But when we got to bed there, it started out in the mid 40s, like I said, but it was scheduled to warm up to, we were going to wake up to about 61 degrees that next morning. So it warmed up actually overnight, and that helped considerably with the comfort, with the sleeping comfort as we went on through the evening. The biggest challenge to sleeping was that these snow geese, and like I said, there's thousands of them that come and overwinter at this place. So this is only something that you're really dealing with between September and the end of February. But they were surprisingly loud and surprisingly late. These things were just, you could hear them honking. They had settled out on Phelps Lake, I imagine, is what it sounded like. And they just kept yapping until about 3 o'clock in the morning. They finally simmered down and we got some quiet there. We do want to plan a trip back a little bit later in spring when it's warmer. I said that we clocked about 30 miles of trails. A lot of the stuff that we wanted to explore over towards Pungo was gated. And there was several of the side roads that were open that we didn't even get to. So there is a ton of places to explore and to drive through on this place that we kind of left hanging that we still have for a later trip that we saved. So there's plenty to explore and see out at this National Wildlife Refuge, and it's definitely worth a trip. If you've never been out there, you could probably spend a couple of trips out there just driving around to really fully explore everything. Really cool place to visit. So I mentioned that I was shooting some video during our drives. So I did put out a short video on the trip, and it's out on YouTube on our channel. If you look up Dirt Road Tourist on YouTube, you can find the video of our trip. Just in case you want to see what the National Wildlife Refuge looks like, you can actually, get some views of the places that we traveled through and of the campsite and of these trails that I was talking about that go down to Phelps Lake. You can find it on YouTube. We're also on Instagram. I also am Dirt Road Tourist on TikTok. You can find it on TikTok as well. And, I have some shots of the trails around the refuge. And again, I'm making air quotes because they're really kind of dirt roads or gravel roads. But again, it's the scenery that you're really after and the chance of spotting some really cool wildlife while you're out there. So I'm not getting famous yet from the video, but I think our dog has a 3-picture movie deal. You'll find a lot of, well, not a lot, but a pretty good bit of footage there of Fisher in the he featured prominently in the video. So I'm trying to work my way. It's a short video. It's not a feature length video yet. It's only about 2.5 minutes, so it's nice, quick and dirty. You can get a chance to take a look at this place. But I'm trying to work my way up to some of the feature length, like, good 25, 30-minute videos for some of my upcoming trips. But I just wanted to get something out there on the tubes and the talks. I'm kind of getting in the hang of having to do video editing. Starting up a podcast, you're learning about so many things about mixing audio, and now I'm throwing video into the work. It's a pretty steep learning curve to try to take on all this stuff at once, but I'm working on it. So in other news, we got our Julka Gotta Go today. That actually arrived. It shipped in today. So just unboxing it and taking a look at it, it's a pretty well built crapper, I gotta say, for a portable one. It sits comfortably. Haven't had a chance to really take it out on a trip, and don't know how well it's going to work yet. I might do an actual review on that, but just initial impressions from taking it out of the box looks pretty promising. So got that in. That'll be something that I'll probably try to throw a review on once we get a chance to actually gotta go with it. Also have some sticker packs. Have some of those that have come in. I have 3 designs and they came out really good. And I wanted to have some stickers, some sticker packs in advance of our first event that's coming up. So I have something to hand out at the events there, but I also kind of wanted to throw this out there because if you hit like and subscribe and leave a comment, the comment is the important part. If you leave a comment, I'll try to pick one of the comments out from the people that do comment on my videos. And you can do this on YouTube or you can do this on Apple Podcasts. I would prefer it to be on Apple Podcasts, but anywhere, either one of those two will work. I'll pick one of the people out that comment and choose them to mail a sticker pack to. You'll have to leave a comment by next Monday, February the 17th, and I'll announce the winner on the next episode. But if you're the one that's chosen, I'll send you out a pack of all 3 of the different sticker designs that I have here. So that's just a little bit of an incentive, a little bit of a thank you for actually taking the time to subscribe and to comment on the podcast here. That's all I've got really to talk about for this week. Join me again next week for another episode of Dirt Road Tourist. And until then, have a fantastic week. Don't forget to leave that comment to win a sticker pack. And as always, go see something amazing.